Well, I'm a geological engineer by training. Came out of Queen's University in the early 1980s. Worked for major companies for almost 20 years. Started with Goldfields and then worked through Santa Fe and Homestake and Barrick and Newmont, and then I've been pretty much with the junior companies for the last 15 years. So I've got sort of a breadth of experience from small projects, early stage exploration projects, right up to producing mines that I was at with some of the majors, and that experience has taken me all over the world. I started my career in Canada, worked actually in the area that Maple's in right now. I started in Jetel and Douay back in 1985, and so I've come full circle, but worked all across Canada, the U.S. and internationally for almost 15 years. So I think I bring a lot to the table in terms of having seen many different deposit types and styles and scales of projects. I guess the fact that I've worked on so many projects, I'm a very methodical person. I guess it's my engineering background coming through. I like assimilating large data sets, extracting sort of the key elements out of that, and then testing ideas and concepts. So that's sort of what we're doing at Douay right now. Coming up with a more of a structural idea that previous operators didn't really focus on, and that's sort of what's driving the exploration at Maple at the moment is that. And I think I've had a lot of success at other projects. I've been through a lot of successful projects, a lot of takeovers actually, and so I'm hoping to sort of, part of the reason for coming to Maple was that same idea. Was I saw an opportunity that we could sort of take an asset that was slightly underappreciated in the market, and obviously we've driven a lot of value in the last year and a half, just taking to where it is, and I'm hoping there's a lot more to come. I think just the sheer scale of the system. It's a intrusion-related gold systems, which it generally implies that they're very large. We do have a number of different zones, but the drilling right now is widely spaced, and that's part of the mandate is sort of start connecting the dots, infilling between those zones, and show that gold is continuous from zone to zone, and also at depth. That's the big push from last year's program was chasing high grade, and can we extend the high grade to 500 meters and beyond? And we think we have a pretty good handle on that. And we had some good success last year at the Nika zone of 531 extending that kind of high grade. So I think that's the opportunity. It's a big, robust system, and 3 million ounces. That's one of the largest ones, undeveloped ones in Quebec right now. So I think there's a real opportunity. Well, I think I've only been here, well, I guess, coming up on 2 years this summer. So I sort of came when the reset was happening. There was a bit of a hiatus, and there was a real opportunity to take a step back and just compile all the data. We went back and relogged core. We did a lot of work on geochemistry, alteration, and particularly structure. And a lot of these systems, particularly orogenic systems in Quebec and Ontario, and this style, there's a structural control which wasn't really understood at Douay. There was sort of a dogma that all the zones at Douay probably dipped the same direction as all the other deposits in the area. And we did a lot of work just trying to understand what the controls were. We think we have a handle on that now. It's sort of intersecting fractures and the regional foliation, and that's controlling the high grade. So that's what we're testing right now. And it was nice to have that a bit of downtime to sort of put all that together. And now we're obviously full on, biggest, as Kieran said, the biggest drill program in the company's history right now. And so we're charging ahead and testing those theories. Well, we've focused on the sort of the highest grade areas of the deposit. There's two particular areas, both at Nika and 531, where historically the best grades, and so that was sort of a logical starting point was there. And we had success last year, and now we're applying that same methodology to other targets on the property. So we're slowly expanding to test 3 or 4 other zones this year at the same time. Yeah, well, I think obviously high grade always wins. If you can demonstrate significant grade at depth, or that extends to depth, and that kind of grade is mineable at underground mining grades or underground bulk mining grades, I think that's the real opportunity. The open pits, it's much larger scale operations, much more capital investment involved in large open pits. But I think if you can identify the high grade portions first and show the continuity to that, then the rest will follow. Right now, Dewey, there's a significant portion is in the inferred category at Dewey. I think 83%, I think, is currently inferred, and that's based on the wide space drilling pattern. It's a big 6 kilometer system. A lot of the drilling is 100 to 200 meters apart. That's why it's sitting in the inferred category. So it's just takes more drilling to infill between those zones, try and, as I said, connect the dots between the zones so that you can convert more of that to the indicated category. And that's also part of the mandate of this 30,000 meter program, is to push more into indicated. I think we're at that point now. There has been, this project has a history. It goes all the way back to 1985 when it was first discovered. There's a number of operators that took it to feasibility, either the entire project or portions of it. So we're sort of, as part of the reset, we're reviewing all that data. There has been metallurgy done in the past, but I think we're at the point that we need to start thinking about development studies. We've launched Ausenco on some studies this past year. They'll continue working for us this year. Sort of started with a gap analysis to see what we were missing, but we're starting to fill in those gaps now with additional studies and reviewing the metallurgy and trying to visualize sort of conceptual mining methods and how would we mine it, and would you process it on site or would you truck it elsewhere, and all those kinds of economic trade-offs are happening right now.
Yeah.
Well, we're a very small team, so we rely pretty heavily on external consultants, and we have such a solid board of directors and technical advisors. So everything I do is vetted through either Kieran or the directors or the various consultants that we're using. So I lean pretty heavily on everyone's opinion and then sort of pick the best path forward based on that. But well, I guess I wear multiple hats. My title is officially VP of Technical Services, but I've been acting as the VP Exploration for the last year and a half. So I drive the exploration programs. I plan the budgets. I design the programs with input from the team and consultants. I manage all the individual consultants. We've gone to sort of more about a exploration services contractor model. So the Dewey project is managed by an exploration group out of Val-d'Or. The Chatel project is also managed by a separate exploration group. So I manage those teams, and we have key people on site, project geologists that work with them and sort of my ears on the ground, I guess, and my ears and eyes, but I'm very, very hands-on, very interactive with all the teams, and pretty much drive the bus. Well, we're looking at obviously completing this drill program. We're coming up on about a third of the way through the 10,000 or the 30,000 meter programs. We've done close to 10,000 meters. That'll continue through till the end of Q1, early Q2. We have a resource update that we've been working on, which will also be released sometime in Q1 that SLR Consulting is working on. I think everyone will be happy with the results coming out of that. And we're also have a first-time resource on Chatel coming out. So Chatel was mined by Agnico Eagle up until 1994. There's a lot of unmined areas at Eagle Telbel that are part of the Chatel complex that we thought there was a real opportunity to sort of capture those in a first-time resource. So that'll be part of the resource as well, and we'll roll the two of them out together is the plan. So I think, again, that'll be a major catalyst for investors when the resource comes out. Well, I think if they look at my background, they can see my experience, that I have experience with big companies, but I've also been with a lot of successful juniors that have had a clear mandate to sort of develop projects and take them to the finish line, and then were bought out. So I think I've been through 9 different takeovers right now. So it's a pretty good track record for anyone looking at Maple now. They can look at me and say, well, he's done it before and has had that kind of success, and hopefully he can do it the same again with Maple and the Dewey project.